They say God always answers prayers, but sometimes the answer isn't a flash of light or a whisper. Sometimes it's a wrong turn, a misdial, or, as Olivia Sterling discovered, a tragically misplaced reservation. Olivia Sterling, 35, CEO of the tech giant Sterling Analytics, sat rigidly in the plush velvet booth of Bellissimo. She had deliberately chosen the exclusive Italian restaurant for its strategic location, close enough to be impressive, far enough to make a quick, dignified exit if the date soured. She was waiting for Gregory, an investor introduced by her friend Lauren as perfect on paper. Rich, connected, and impeccably pedigreed. Gregory was already 15 minutes late. Olivia felt a dull ache of disappointment, quickly followed by a strange, liberating sense of relief. For the last 12 years, she had built her company from a concept into a titan. Her life was governed by logic, balance sheets, and rational decisions. Yet, as the years passed, her meticulously constructed life felt cold, prompting her to whisper a prayer nightly, an irrational plea, a request to the divine for someone who would genuinely see her. Not the Sterling name. Gregory's tardiness confirmed her cynicism. Love, like business, was a transaction, and this one was already failing. Just as she reached for her phone to compose a politely savage exit text, a man approached her table. He was dressed in the faded utility clothes of a blue-collar worker, a contrast so stark against Bellissimo's polished marble that it drew a few subtle, disapproving glances from other patrons. He was late and slightly breathless. In his hands he held a simple, awkward bouquet of white daisies. Not the ostentatious roses Gregory would have chosen, but daisies, the humble symbol of purity and true love. "Hello," he said, his voice deep but laced with genuine anxiety. He looked around, confused. "I'm Nathan. I think I must have the wrong time, but are you the one I'm meeting?" Olivia's mind registered the mistake instantly. He was clearly looking for someone else, confusing her table, which sat near the entrance, for his own blind date. She should have corrected him, sent him away. But then she looked into his eyes. They were tired, yes, but remarkably gentle and, above all, honest. They held a vulnerability she hadn't seen in a man in years. A sudden, reckless impulse, a direct answer to her prayer perhaps, made her smile. "You're Nathan. You're late," she teased, accepting the daisies. "But thank you. They're beautiful. Please, sit down." Nathan was visibly startled, but he accepted the invitation. The evening, which had started with the frigid formality of a corporate merger, suddenly felt warm, authentic, and utterly unexpected. As the expensive wine sat untouched, they talked over water and bread. Nathan was the polar opposite of the men who usually orbited her life. He was direct, unpretentious, and possessed a quiet dignity that outweighed any financial status. He shared his story with profound humility. He revealed that he was once an accomplished, respected architect. "But life has its own blueprints," he said with a wry smile. His wife had been diagnosed with an aggressive cancer, and he had immediately walked away from his successful career to become her sole caregiver. "I realized that the only structure that mattered was the time we had left," he confessed. "We fought for 2 years. When she was gone, I was left with the silence and the debt." He explained that he now worked as a janitor at Sterling Analytics, Olivia's company. "It's honest work. It pays the bills, clears the debt, and keeps my hands busy. There's a strange peace in just cleaning up after the mess of the day, you know. It keeps my self-respect intact." Olivia listened, captivated and deeply moved. The man across from her, wearing an outdated, clean uniform, held more integrity than a dozen men in three-piece suits. She felt a connection forged not through shared success, but shared humanity and loss. The thought of revealing her identity, the CEO of his workplace, vanished. She wanted this beautiful connection to remain untainted by hierarchy. She wanted to see how he treated her. Olivia, the woman, not Miss Sterling, the boss. A man's worth is not in the title he holds, but in the character he upholds, she murmured, clutching the daisies. The intimate bubble they had built was brutally shattered when Gregory finally arrived, stomping into the restaurant nearly an hour late, demanding attention. He spotted Olivia and, without apology, swaggered toward the table. "Sterling, darling, my apologies. Traffic was atrocious and I simply had to conclude that NASDAQ call," Gregory declared loudly. Then his eyes fell on Nathan. He paused, his expensive Italian loafers stopping short. He sneered, a look of utter dismissive contempt crossing his face. "Well, now, look what we have here. Did you hire some help to keep you entertained while you waited for me?" Gregory's voice dripped with condescension. It was in that sickening moment that Nathan's eyes darted from Gregory's face to Olivia's, then back to the pristine, untouched name tag pinned to her lapel. O. Sterling. The pieces clicked. The plush restaurant. The Sterling name. The CEO of his company. His face went pale, his gentle expression replaced by a look of profound, agonizing hurt. He felt not just embarrassed, but completely betrayed. "Is that true?" Nathan asked Olivia, his voice flat, devoid of the warmth of the last hour. Olivia stumbled over her words. "Nathan, I didn't mean to deceive you. It started as a mistake. But then, I just wanted to—" He cut her off, rising slowly, his shoulders stiffening in that old uniform. The quiet dignity she admired returned, laced now with cold distance. "I understand, Miss Sterling. Please accept my apologies for the intrusion. Enjoy your evening." He placed the daisies gently back on the table, bowed stiffly, and walked away without looking back. Gregory slid into the seat, oblivious to the tragedy he had just authored. Honestly, some people just don't know their place. You should have had the waiter remove him. Now, about that IPO, Olivia barely heard him. The warmth Nathan had brought had been replaced by a bitter chill. Gregory's entitlement, his casual cruelty, was revolting. She pushed herself away from the table, placing her wallet down for the bread and water. She scooped up the bouquet of white daisies. "Mr. Gregory," she said, her voice steel-cold and clear enough to silence the surrounding chatter. "A man who does not respect the time of others is not worthy of mine." She walked out, leaving him staring dumbfounded at the empty chair, her heart aching for the honest man who had just left. That night, she prayed again, not for love, but for forgiveness and a second chance. The next morning, Olivia was the first person in the Sterling Analytics office. She placed the wilted daisies in a glass of water on her massive mahogany desk and waited. She intercepted Nathan in the early morning hours, pushing a cleaning cart near the executive floor elevators. He paused, avoiding her gaze. "Nathan, wait," she pleaded, stepping toward him. "I owe you a real apology. I handled that terribly." She explained her prayer, her frustration with the dating scene, and the desperate, foolish desire to be seen as just a woman. "I didn't tell you because I was selfish. I wanted to see how you treated me when you didn't know who I was. That was wrong. I apologize for hurting you." He looked up, his eyes meeting hers, still guarded. "Miss Sterling, the conversation was real. Before I knew you were my boss, were you genuinely happy?" Olivia took a breath, holding the bouquet of daisies between them. It was the most wonderful, authentic evening I've had in years, not because of your title, but because of your heart, Nathan. She took a risk, an act of faith. Please, let me be honest now. I want to see you again. Nathan, the janitor, the man who was once an architect. Will you have dinner with Olivia Sterling, the woman? A flicker of light returned to his eyes. He smiled, the gentle, genuine smile that had charmed her the night before. I think, Miss Sterling, I can do that. The gossip was immediate and ferocious. The CEO dating the janitor was scandalous, unprofessional, and against the natural order. Olivia ignored it all. I spent 12 years building a life based on everyone else's expectations. Now, I will build one based on my own heart's blueprint, she announced to her board. Nathan was slowly convinced to return to architectural work on a freelance basis, yet he insisted on keeping the janitorial job part-time. It was his anchor, a reminder of humility and the simple value of honest labor. Their relationship was built not on corporate power, but on mutual respect, vulnerability, and a shared commitment to kindness. Olivia, having found genuine connection, softened. Her leadership became more humane, driven by empathy and understanding. 6 months later, they returned to Bellissimo. Nathan was there early, waiting for her, dressed in a sharp, modern vest and jacket, but still maintaining that essential simplicity. As they sat at the now correct corner table, he reached across and held her hand. Last time, I was at the wrong table at the wrong time, but I met the right person. Tonight, it's the right table, the right time, and still the right person. A year after that fateful night, Nathan led her to the company garden, handing her a new bouquet of white daisies he had picked himself. He knelt down, pulling out a ring he had designed, a simple band with a diamond held by 2 interlocking arches, a nod to his architectural past. Olivia, he said, his voice thick with emotion, my prayer was answered not with wealth, but with worth. Marry me, and let's build a life where the foundations are truth and love, not glass and steel. Olivia said yes, her tears finally falling for the janitor who had taught the CEO the true meaning of value. The white daisy, the symbol of their humble, perfect love, had proved the theorem. Authenticity is the only currency that truly matters.